Across Europe right now, the elite are obsessing over a trend known as quiet luxury, where true power lies not in flashy displays, but in the invisible. Life operates like a ruthless game of chess, where the most aggressive and visible moves often lead directly to self-imprisonment. If you listen closely to the very end of this story, you will unlock the exact formula for absolute financial freedom. You will learn to see through the illusions of the modern economy and understand how to turn your peak earning years into an unbreakable fortress of wealth. Two men grew up under the exact same roof, shaped by the same rules, and burdened by the same middle-class pressure to succeed. When they reached their early 40s, their financial portraits were completely identical, each earning exactly $120,000 a year. Both had families, both lived in quiet suburbs, and both had accumulated a modest savings of $50,000. Yet, exactly 25 years later, a staggering gap of over $1 million stood between them. This division was not born from luck or sudden inheritance, but from the silent, calculated choices made during one specific decade. Your 40s are a dangerous intersection of power and temptation, where three massive financial forces violently collide. Your earning potential reaches its absolute peak, your investments still have over 2 decades to multiply, and the societal pressure to display your success becomes overwhelming. Society demands that you buy a larger house, a premium vehicle, and curated experiences to prove your worth. One man weaponized this peak income to buy his permanent freedom. The other man used that exact same income to purchase a lifetime of beautiful chains. When the second man received a significant promotion, he felt entitled to the rewards of his 20 years of labor. He upgraded to a massive home in a prestigious neighborhood, convinced that his family deserved the absolute best. The real estate agents praised his high income, assuring him that the heavy monthly payments were perfectly comfortable. In reality, he had just traded his most powerful wealth-building years for 3 decades of forced labor to a bank. The true cost of that home was not the monthly payment, but the millions of dollars in future freedom it silently erased. The first man faced the exact same temptations, but he viewed the game through a lens of cold, mathematical discipline. He never asked if he could simply afford a monthly payment, but rather what that payment would permanently steal from his future. He chose to remain in his modest home, forcefully redirecting the massive difference into untouched investment accounts. While his brother chased the applause of neighbors, he quietly constructed an invisible financial empire. Invisible wealth earns no compliments at dinner parties, but it is the only currency that buys absolute control over your destiny. The automobile trap soon followed, acting as another brutal psychological test of middle-class ego. The second man signed away his future for a luxury vehicle, terrified of looking unsuccessful next to his wealthy peers. Those comfortable payments continuously drained his financial lifeblood for 7 long years, leaving nothing to compound. The first man purchased an ordinary, 4-year-old reliable car, completely unfazed by the judgment of society. He understood deeply that trying to look rich is the fastest and most guaranteed path to dying poor. Lifestyle inflation is a silent parasite that eagerly consumes every new dollar you manage to earn. Better restaurants, endless subscriptions, and constant minor upgrades quickly devoured the entirety of the second man's annual raises. His saving rate plummeted to a dangerous low, suffocated by the heavy weight of permanent monthly obligations. The first man operated with ruthless boundaries, immediately sweeping exactly half of every raise into investments before it could touch his checking account. He paid his future self first, refusing to let temporary comforts dictate the terms of his existence. When their children reached university age, emotional vulnerability threatened to destroy decades of logical planning. The second man gladly signed massive parent loans for an elite private college, sacrificing his own survival to satisfy a fleeting dream. The first man took a painful but necessary stance, insisting on state schools, scholarships, and shared responsibility. He recognized a harsh, undeniable truth of the financial world. Children have their whole lives to borrow and repay for education, but a parent can never borrow money to fund their retirement. By the age of 50, the architectural flaws in their financial designs were impossible to hide. The second man generated more income than ever before, yet he lived on the bleeding edge of panic, trapped by fixed costs. He looked incredibly successful to the outside world, yet he was completely fragile to the slightest economic storm. The first man lived a seemingly ordinary life, but he possessed an impenetrable margin of safety and a growing mountain of capital. When career-altering opportunities arose, only the first man had the financial power to actually take the risk. At age 65, the ultimate consequences of their divergent paths were permanently locked into reality. The second man remained a prisoner to his lifestyle, forced to continue working under the dark shadow of debt and medical anxiety. The first man sat on over $1.5 million, enjoying the supreme privilege of waking up and doing exactly what he pleased. Your 40s will not simply dictate how much wealth you generate, they will dictate how much of your own life you actually get to keep. Never trade the sovereign freedom of your tomorrow for the worthless applause of today.